So we are here today. This is Darlene Van Riper, by the way, with Martin County Taxpayers Association, and we're here today with Taryn Kryzda, who is the Martin County County Administrator, and of course my fashion mentor, but that's another subject. Anyway, and today we're going to talk really briefly about MSTUs. Everybody got their what we call the trim notice, which is our property tax notice. And as you can see here, there are different taxing authorities, and right here is the MSTUs. So Taryn is going to explain to us what the heck an MSTU is, because it is a separate taxing authority.
Yes.
Right, Taryn?
Yes.
Okay, so what does it stand for, first of all, in this world of acronyms?
It stands for Municipal Services Taxing Unit. And when you think about municipal services, you're thinking about fire services, park maintenance services, various maybe drainage services, roads, things that a municipality or an incorporated area, or for us, for the county, what services are we going to be providing to our residents? And so it's a mechanism to establish a separate millage rate so that you can define those. And it's attributable mainly to the unincorporated area. And the thought process is because they're figuring that if you live in an incorporated area like a city, or which would be a city or the village or a town, you're providing those residents within your boundaries those services, or you want to. Like the village of Indiantown recently, they took over the roads and the parks that are in their village boundaries because they want to maintain them and they want to provide a level of service for their residents that may be different than what Martin County is doing in an unincorporated area. So that's why there's this mechanism for the MSTUs. We have them here in Martin County. We have them for fire rescue. We have them for roads, we have them for stormwater, and we have them for park maintenance for residents that live outside of an incorporated area. And we also have one on Hutchinson Island that goes from the inlet north to the county line that's specific only to the residents that live out on Hutchinson Island. And then we use those for operations. We can use them for capital. We can use them for anything within the established Florida statutes. They can only be spent in the area where they're collected.
Okay, so that kind of makes, because I did notice that on mine it says District 3. Mm-hmm. So I'm in Hobe Sound, so I'm in District 3. So those funds that are collected in my MSTU can only be spent in the Hobe Sound area, that district.
Correct.
Okay.
The commissioners also have, aside from the fire and parks and those that I mentioned, each commissioner established a MSTU for their district. And those boundaries are readjusted every 10 years after the census because it's based on population.
Okay, that makes
It's not
sense.
based on tax base or any other number. It's based on population. So the last time we redistrict was probably we're doing the census now. So it's been a while since we had redone those boundaries. So what essentially happened when the village incorporated is that district, because it used to be part of 3, and some of it was District 5 in the western Palm City area, that boundary was redrawn because now it's incorporated and we no longer can collect those taxes for District 3 or 5, depending on where the boundary lands. And yes, you're absolutely correct. Only those district funds can be spent on the residents that contribute to that district.
So if I wanted to, who do I hold accountable then? My county commissioner for my district for those funds? So
for your district funds, yes. Actually, the Board of County Commissioners are held accountable for all of the funds.
Well, true.
Yeah. And they establish the projects, particularly in your district, if they have specific district funds. They come up with the projects, working with the community. There's a memo that they put together saying, I am going to allocate X amount of dollars toward this or that, so that we as staff have a mechanism to allocate those funds. But we can't allocate them unless we get an invoice, or we have, so sometimes there are county funds where they'll come to the county staff and say, I want to give you my district funds so that you can resurface this road or fix this drainage issue. And so the county then will issue the purchase order, and we monitor those funds accordingly. But sometimes they like to say, okay, well, this entity that's in my district is having a program only for my residents, or that's going to benefit the bulk of my residents, and we need an extra $5,000 or whatever the number is in order to put on that program. Well, then we have to have an invoice from that entity. So no dollars are expended without either an invoice,
Sure.
or a purchase order, or
Sure.
some mechanism. And we also keep track of those expenditures, our financial analysts, separately, so that we can make sure that the commissioners are aware that they're spending how much of their funds they've spent, so that they can kind of monitor that.
Sure.
These district funds, the highest district I believe is in District 1, and they've got that district has $300,000 set aside for district funds, and then the lowest is just a little over $200,000. It's $208,000, and it's an odd number because that commissioner in District 3 has decided that he wants to keep his millage rate constant, whereas if they base it on a dollar amount, then that millage rate's going to vary because it's based on the taxable values.
Then it's based on the taxable value. So I'm confused because you said it's only based on the population.
No, the boundaries. When the boundaries are redrawn.
Oh, the boundaries. Okay.
Yes, when
but
the boundaries,
the actual pot
yes,
of money, okay,
is based on the taxable values.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
And so who is? So it is the county commission. If I wanted to know, okay, so how much is in the pot in, say, District 3 where I live, in the MSTU pot? Then I could go to you, I could go to Carolyn Timon, the county comptroller, basically, or I could go to my county commissioner, right?
Well, the county commissioner, yes,
Would go to you.
Depending on what the time frame is, they would come to us and say, okay, I want to know how much balance I have in my district funds, and they roll over from year to year. So if they don't spend it all, in one given year, then those funds automatically will be part of their fund balance at the end of the year, and we will roll those over for them so they can accumulate over time.
Okay, that's good to know. So if the taxpayers, okay, so this isn't like there's a council or anything that decides when the millage rate will go up or down. That's not determined that way. It's determined by property values. If the values go up in any given year, the MSTU rate goes up a little bit.
It could, or the commissioner could make a conscious decision to lower the millage because they're only X amount of dollars are they wanting to collect.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so they could kind of put the cart before the horse in that way. They could, okay, that's good. Okay, and all right, well, I think that it's clear to me now, which is something that, I couldn't figure out, why do we have this separate thing just from the general operations, because the general operations, everybody pays tax into the general fund, and then these MSTUs, they'll kind of make each area a little bit special.
For your district funds.
Yes.
Unfortunately, the way that your trim notice is showing our millage rate is it combines all of those MSTUs together. It just separates the district out. So fire, roads, stormwater, and parks are all rolled up into that one number. So when you see the operations, they've got everything in there. So depending on where you live, that tax rate will vary, because if you're in a city or the town, they also have their millage rate, so that gets put in there. And then if you're in the unincorporated area, you've got the MSTUs. So the rates vary, again, so when people are looking at homes or they're looking at real estate and they go in and they pull somebody's tax bill to try to get an idea of what the county is, it can be very, very confusing. Very confusing.
So then you have to go to either the tax collector's office, Ruth Pietraszewski's
You
office.
can, but I put
try
my
to get
phone
a good-
number
yeah.
on the trim notice, my direct line.
Okay.
So I'm happy to have people call me. It's 288-5939 and area code 772. I have people call me from time to time with those very questions, and I will try to educate them and help them understand. We go over it a little bit in our CARES classes, which is our Citizens Academy, but it is different. Florida's different, so people who come to us from other states are, expecting it to be the same as where they're from, but it's established by statute. The maximum millage rate is established by statute. It's all formula based, so there is a cap on how much an entity can go up from year to year. And then it's just a matter of what the commissioners are willing to put out there for the general public, if they're going to have a tax increase or not, based on what our taxable values are doing.
Okay. Well, Taryn, anything else you want to say about the MSTUs?
No, if you ever have a question, please reach out. We're happy to provide information. We're as transparent, I think, as any organization can be, and we put good information on our website. We've got transparency on the website with a lot of budget information. If you want to know how much, is the sheriff's budget or the clerk or the tax collector, all those are out there, as well as all of our departments.
Okay, and what's that website?
www.martin.fl.us.
Thanks, Taryn.